Well, let's hop in. Andrew, great to meet you, sir. Thank you for taking a minute out today. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Happy to be here.
Me too. So let's begin our journey. I kind of touched on COVID. 6 years ago, this thing was changing the world, changing so much about the way we live. How did you get through the COVID era, and how has it influenced the way that you live and work today?
It's a really good question. For me at the time, I was actually a new executive coach. So I had just a year earlier had just left my corporate role where I was a chief technology officer at an investment manager and was ambitious and motivated and excited to start this new thing called executive coaching and consulting around tech leaders and CTOs and CEOs. And then this happened. So it was a very like circle the wagons, hold on tight, buckle down as much as possible. But my thing was like, I got to get outside. Like my saving grace personally was really around how much time can I get out of the house? If I can't be around people, I can at least be outside. I do a lot of hiking, a lot of outdoor sports, those kinds of things. So personally, like that really recharged my battery pretty much every day. Um, but you got to hold on tight sometimes and kind of be patient. And that was a patience test right
Yeah,
there.
certainly was. So let's get into the good work that you're doing. I'm going to put you in front of 13-year-olds. It's career day, and the kid in the back of the room is like, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" How do you answer him?
I help technical leaders find themselves because the more that people that are out there in the world leading teams, leading organizations know how they tick, how they themselves work, and how they operate, the better they can be with other people. And a little bit of that goes back to the old airline thing, put your mask on first before you put on someone else's mask. And the reason for that is if you're not taking care of yourself, you're not valuable to anybody else.
Yeah.
You're really gonna mess things up, and it's gonna be because you don't know your triggers. You don't know all the little things that are getting in the way because you're not able to see them. Yeah.
Now, as we get older, we're a couple guys that have been around for a little while. As we get older, do the layers just add on? Do we just get farther and farther away from that kind of wonder we have when we're younger, and that's why we need a better compass to figure out where we're going?
Yeah, I think that is what happens. And I think, things get more and more complicated. Maybe, you take on some more roles. You take on jobs that get more complicated, maybe more people, you're looking for more money, a bigger title, all those things. And then maybe you start a family and so like having kids complicates things at home, right? So now you've got those two both getting more intense, more demands on your time. And you know what we do? We go back to our habits. Like what was the thing that you know, going drinking with the boys, right? Like that worked. How come that doesn't work anymore,
Yeah,
right? Like those kinds of things, we kind of fall back on habits. In a lot of ways, we're pretty simple creatures,
yeah.
right? And so we like comfort, we hate change, all those kinds of things. A lot of times people need like some kind of bonk on the head. Like a lot of times I get this question like, what's a perfect coaching client? Someone who's been kicked in the teeth, honestly. Like someone who's been fired. Have you been fired a couple times, maybe twice? It's good data, really good data. Like someone who can look at themselves in the mirror and be like, I screwed that up.
Yeah. What did you want to be at 13? When you were at career day, what was your dream gig?
Hockey player.
Okay.
I I grew up playing ice hockey, grew up I lived for a little bit in Buffalo, New York, and then New Jersey. Super into hockey, love the Buffalo Sabres, New York Rangers. And I was going to be a hockey player.
I still, to this day, one of the most haunting things was that Clint Malarchuk thing that happened.
Oh yeah.
Ugh. So, so on the flip side of that, I got a better story. I'm listening to the biography of Al Michaels right now, and he was talking about calling that 80 game and how he came up
Wow.
with Do You Believe in Miracles? So if you want to have something really fun as a hockey guy, because he's a huge hockey fan, like he starts the book being in LA when the Kings were getting ready on the verge of winning that championship. So he's explaining all of this before he gets in to his life.
Cool.
So you might have a good time with that. And then he goes back to Calgary and then Sochi, and he covered a lot of hockey, and that was kind of his dominant force in his life. Even though he did a lot of other sports, but anyways, as a hockey guy, you'd appreciate it. So.
Well, I'm gonna add something to this, and this I think is actually useful probably for a lot of your community. And so I started playing hockey in Buffalo, New York, like I was around 6, 7 years old, and then my family moved to New Jersey, and I was just by starting then and in Buffalo near Canada, I was so much better than everybody at my age level that it became the thing where like instead of getting picked on as a new kid, ignored, all that, they were all like, oh, he's good at something, and it became much more than just like, passing a puck around and, stick handling and stuff. It was like, oh, this is my path in to like actually make friends.
And that's interesting you mentioned that because I wanted to delve into where you're from and kind of the early seeds. What were you seeing around you, whether it was conscious or subconscious, that eventually led to you becoming a leader, getting into technology, and now in consulting and helping people get to their peak place? How did all this begin and happen?
You know, I was pretty ambitious in my 30s, wanted to do more, have a bigger impact, all those kinds of things, and maybe a little ADD, getting bored easily, those kinds of things. But I think I saw a couple things that I accidentally was good at that were not common, and one of them was people. Like I would look around a tech organization, engineers over here, technical, say program managers over there, business analysts and all that. And so few people have decent people skills. And for me, it was like it was just a natural organic thing, maybe because I moved around as a kid and was forced into new situations. But as soon as I noticed that like I had a little extra natural skill in that area, I'd leaned pretty heavily into it. And then suddenly the people from marketing want to talk to you and the people from sales want to talk to you. And like the CEO is comfortable when you explained why we had an outage, right? Like you can explain, you become a translator. So I think that, in a very sort of abbreviated way, that was the thing that I leaned into.
Who was that inspiration for you? Who's been that hero that's allowed you to navigate and evolve to where you're at today?
Yeah, I had two really, really good mentors, right? So one of them was first a manager that I had, and this guy knew everything about the business. He was like our COO, knew everything about the business, knew everything about tech, and he would walk into meetings totally empty-handed. And I just thought, that is so reckless. Like, I have to have a laptop or a notebook. How dare he show up like that? And you know what he did? His thing was like complete presence. Like
Yeah.
he wasn't like a guru
Huh?
meditator, he wasn't wearing robes from his like Buddhist retreat, but he was present and he could recount like everything that happened and everything that was said, and he remembered action items and takeaways and all those kinds of things. And
Wow.
I just thought, man, this is not about more and more tech, note taking, and like all the action items emailed out. This is about listening. This
Yeah.
is about listening. And then the second guy who came along that really, really opened my eyes to everything was he was in like a partner. We had been acquired and he was in this other company that was a little larger. And this guy was he was just a diplomat in some ways. Like he treated everyone fairly, but he didn't suffer fools. He had a way of kind of walking in and kind of had this sort of energy to him where it was like, I got this, right? And I learned a lot about just dealing with different groups and bigger problems and all that from him.
We've seen in our lifetime, in our relatively recent lifetime, all of the leaders are tech leaders. I mean, you got Zuckerberg, you have Steve Jobs, you have Bill Gates, you have all these people. But who did you admire? Who were leaders in technology, whether they were big or maybe people don't know them? Who did you emulate? Who did you look up to in that sector?
Yeah, it's interesting because to me, for a really, really long time, I thought it was pretty amazing all of the stuff that Steve Jobs did. And I know that that's a little bit of a common answer, but when you read a lot about the history and how he sort of came up, as a child and all that stuff, like selling things in his driveway and tinkering and all that. There's a purity to it. Like I kind of don't really care about the later stages, the iPhone in every pocket and all those kinds of things, but there's a little bit of a pure tinkering piece. And like my family, as I was growing up, they were always like, hey, this clock or this watch isn't working or something. Give it to Andrew. Like that, the idea, like, how does something work?
Yeah.
And that always struck me as like curiosity. Who's got pure curiosity? Because like you said before, Joe, we layer all this stuff on top and things get really confusing and complicated, but you got to have something to return to,
Yeah.
you know? It's something down at your core that makes sense to you.
Yeah, I've always wondered why they always Wozniak and Steve, like there's always this thing where people are like, well, he didn't invent it. Steve Jobs didn't invent it. He wasn't doing the hard work. It was Wozniak that did it. But if it wasn't Steve and him and their synergy in those days in the garage, tinkering and
Yeah,
doing it, they
yeah,
fed off of each other. Wozniak may not have been that motivated if he didn't have somebody that had that business marketing, that other side of the savvy. I mean, because even to this day, when you open up something that's Apple, it's definitely Apple. It's thick, it looks good. You got the stickers, it's all packaged. Like that was Steve Jobs. That's what he was doing. But
yeah,
Wozniak was literally going through that little digital fortress and getting everything to work, you know? But if it
yeah,
wasn't them two together, we wouldn't have this product that we all come back to all the time. When we need to renew it, we're not, I don't, I'm not thinking about another company or another product. I'm thinking I'm just going to get an upgrade. And that's what they did together.
yeah, yeah. Woz was so into the technical details of performance. How do we squeeze another, how do we squeeze another percentage of performance without expanding the footprint?
Yeah.
All of that stuff is really, I think a lot of these guys have this, it's almost like if you think of like an Aerosmith kind of thing, like a Joe Perry, Steven Tyler, or a Led Zeppelin thing. It's probably not a coincidence that there's someone who's a little more out in front.
Yep.
You think of like the Who, you got the Roger Daltrey, Pete Townsend. Pete Townsend was in the back, like writing the songs mostly,
Yep.
you know, and he needed somebody who's a little further in front.
Uh-huh.
But those combinations, right, they seem to really move things in the right way. You've got quality and you've got a little bit of like, front of house.
For sure. So talk to me a little bit about the energy that you have every day to do this job at a high level because you're affecting lives. You have to get into the human mind, which can get murky. So you have to protect yourself. You got to stay grounded, but you have to do a high level job, take care of your soul. What is that energy for you every day?
Yeah, yeah, I love this question because I talk to people a lot about this and I am always asking the dumb questions of people, like what keeps you strong, you know? And I get a lot of really blank stares, right? And I'll say it like this. You're going to see your favorite band on Saturday. What do you do on Friday? Oh, well, you know, I make sure my favorite t-shirt's washed. My favorite pair of jeans is ready to go. Like maybe I get a good night's sleep Friday night because I'm gonna be hitting it hard Saturday night. Right? Like maybe I'm gonna work out Saturday morning. Like all those things. And I like to equate that to you have a big meeting Wednesday. What are you doing on Tuesday? Like what are you doing to take care of yourself? And so I'm a wreck if I go 2 nights with bad sleep, if I'm not eating well, like things deteriorate really, really quickly. And coffee is just not enough anymore.
Yeah,
So to me, it all lines up and specifically, I need to be up early doing my own thing when the house is still quiet
yeah,
before, I mean, I am 100% against jumping right into your devices, your email, any of that. Like, you need some time yourself to think about your own thing before you go replying to everyone else and taking meetings and all that. And I think that is one of the chronic problems with corporate America right now is overgiving.
yeah,
Most people are really terrible at setting boundaries and like blocking their calendar for themselves. It's almost like it's kind of perplexing how bad most people are at that. But I'm not answering any emails. I'm not doing any of that stuff for the first 2 hours in the morning.
yeah. So let me ask you this. Let's say you have a dream tonight. You run into that young version of you ready to go to the NHL. And you walk in the room and there's a film projector and you click play and a 60-second highlight reel of the life you've lived comes up. Is that young version of you going to believe that your life turned out this way?
Never, never in a million years. No. I mean, for one thing, rebounding from low points. I mean, I've been laid off. I've been fired. I've been stuck in roles where I couldn't get the promotion. I've done all those things and I've lived through the lows and crawled my way out of those and all that. Like there's those are scary. Those can be scary highlight reels, you know. And the highs knowing like that you have confidence in how to make money, how to have an impact, being able to affect people and actually doing meaningful work. Wow, like that's pretty good stuff.
Yeah.
So I feel pretty fortunate that I am where I am.
So what are you the proudest of in that highlight reel? What are you the happiest about?
Um, that's a really good question. And I would have to say that has something to do with parenting because my kids are launched. They are in their mid-20s. They're living lives that they really, really love, and they're doing well. In the career space, um, I went through a pretty severe burnout when I was in the corporate space. And, I was mentioning before, like you get all these layers, and at some point you got to come back. You have something at your core, some curiosity about what makes you tick. And I went through all that, and I would say that the learning about myself um, is probably, I was forced into it, but opening up and kind of being vulnerable about that really set the course for the rest of my career.
When you see the big word retirement flash up in your mind, what do you think?
Think of my dad. Like that's my dad's generation,
Yeah.
my dad's lifestyle. He worked for AT&T for 30 plus years, 40, maybe 35. And there was a pension and it was a generation thing that I just, It's not necessarily a reality these days, but also like I got a lot more to do.
Yeah.
I'm not done. So I'm hoping I got, 20 years of productivity in me.
So, Andrew, everyone has a perception of you, family, friends, clients, colleagues, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
I think I'm a pretty humble kind of neighbor. I think of myself as a neighbor. And if you think of the best neighbor that you could have, it's the person that like you bump into, they listen to you, they'll help you move some furniture, they'll lend you a weed whacker, like the person who's like part of the community and is willing to give. Um, and that to me, that's a pretty big compliment to myself. Um, am I perfect all the time? Does it always work? Are there a couple neighbors I might avoid because they talk too much or something? Sure, I'm human, right? But I want to be here for other people.
So let's end everything on a high note here. If you could get into a time machine and go back and see one hockey game, where are you going? What ticket you gonna punch?
I'm going 1980 U.S. Olympic team.
One, I interviewed somebody at one point, and I don't know how I asked it. I may have asked this question, and they said I want to go back to that arena in 1980, and I was like, "Excuse me?" And they were like, "I was there," and I was like, "Oh my God." They felt that electricity. I mean,
Wow.
yeah. And that's the thing. If you do listen to this book, he said that they were chanting for like a whole quarter, like that whole USA thing started. And he actually ran into the couple of guys that started the chant because that was kind of the beginning of it. And he said it was so loud, it sounded like there were literally twin engines from airplanes on both sides of the arena. It was that loud.
That is super cool. That's
That would
super
be,
cool. So, what's interesting about that is, I'm a big Seahawks fan. I typically used to have season tickets, go all the time, but there's this thing called the 12th man. And it's
uh,
not just the Seahawks that have this. Other teams have kind of had this concept. But when you're in there and everyone's screaming, you do start to get this feeling like you're part of something.
yep.
And the players always say like it is almost like getting a push. Like you get a little bit more from that, and the 12th man thing, it's like it's a real energy that's there.
Well, we know that in Kansas City because we were going for that decibel between Seattle and Kansas City. We were trying to
Yeah,
push it high, and yeah,
that would have been
so
nice.
and we got rabid fan bases, so it's good. It's always good to feel that
It,
energy. So
it's crazy, crazy energy, and the players always talk about
yeah, oh
feeling
yeah,
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
totally. So if anybody wants to reach out, they have questions, they want to hire you, any of the good business, where do they go?
Best place to find me is on LinkedIn.
Okay,
Pretty easy to find. Andrew Hinkelman. Just reach out to me. I have a link right under my name where people can book time on with me. Just get on my calendar. Let's get introduced, chat. I don't charge for that kind of stuff. It's really just an introduction. So, don't be shy. Reach out. Send me a connection request. And love to hear from people.
sounds great. I will put links in the show notes. Andrew, what a joy. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your story. Thank you for your time. It was great to meet you.
Thank, thank you, Joe. Really appreciate it.
Yes, sir. And